Okay.
Okay. All right. Hey, it is May the 29th, and we are online with Clinical Coach Zoom session for 6:05. And basically, as I indicated in the schedule, uh, being a 6:05, you guys are finishing up your last semester. Congratulations! I know it's been a long time coming for some of you, or it may seem have. But I am happy that you guys have all made it this far, and I look forward to this last semester and helping you. With 6:05, currently it's especially in the summer session. It's fast paced. You're wrapping up your the SIAP. You're finishing up your competency folio, your School of Ed dispositions, your competency analysis, all that stuff, plus getting ready for graduation and taking care of any loose ends that might need to be taken care of for the end of the semester. So I don't usually schedule Zoom sessions like we have in the past, where I meet with you every week or every other week. It's basically just I had this first one just as a question and answer session, but it's basically, if you need me, you contact me. We can do an individual Zoom. If you want me to Zoom with your peer group or a small group of you, I can do that. I am recording this session. It looks like a few more people have come online. So I am recording it, and like I was saying earlier, if I feel like it's got some substance, then I'll post it. If I feel like it's not beneficial, then I won't post it. But anyway, I know that Dr. Lamb did the MELS town hall meeting a couple of days ago. I actually watched that. I think it was the night afterwards. And I know that if you attended that, he did go over the SIAP, and he went over it pretty well. Dr. Todd chimed in. I think Dr. Stedman chimed in a little bit on the SIAP, and you're at 6:05, and I think there's a lot of good explanation there. If you haven't watched it, then watch that. Watch that with Dr. Lamb. I'm going to stop for just a minute, see if there's any chat questions in the chat box. Okay, good deal. And what I've done is I've pretty much brought up that template that Dr. Lamb referenced. Really, the PSYOP is a culmination. You know how you have culminating activities in your lessons that you teach at school. It's a culminating activity. It kind of takes all the information that you gathered about your school and pulling the information from different evidences and combining them for like a whole school improvement plan is basically what it is. The template does a really good job of helping you with that. I think Dr. Stedman brought out a good point, and I may be wrong. It might not have been Dr. Stedman. And then the Zoom session that Dr. Lamb did, the town hall meeting, they brought up a good point of it's not just copying and pasting from your old evidences. Like if we go down to task 1, I think there's some things in there about the APSL, the CAP, the OMA. It's not just taking that and pasting it and then taking the next session and pasting it into the paper. You're going to have to do a narrative to make this flow and transition from one point to the next, and take the rubric into account. I think Dr. Thomas wanted to mention the rubric. Take that into account to make sure that you've got all the areas there that need to be posted, but it's really just taking that and putting it together into one document. So at this point in time, I'm basically going to see if you've got anybody has any questions. You feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question or type it in the chat box.
I do.
Okay. Hey, Lynn, how are you?
Has the questions.
Okay. Go ahead, Lynn.
I was starting to work on SIAP task 1 like yesterday, last night, and I know it says like in red on the template, it tells you, like APSL 1, 2, 3, and then it'll tell you, use your skip for this or the OMA for that or whatever. The APSL, going back to that, it is part of like SIAP task 1, I guess, is like showing that leadership, because I know for like my APSL, a big part of the first couple of tasks on that was the whole like getting permission to form the PLC, and then forming the PLC and talking about why the PLC was needed and what it was going to be doing for student learning. I know that's what the SL is on that. So that's what's going into the first task of the SIAP?
That's a great question. No, not necessarily. The process that you use to form this SIAP team that you're going to be working with to kind of review all this, you kind of, you pull that team together. You pick that team. You pick them based on their strengths, and you talk about that just as you did when you formed it. It's not step by. You don't go and copy and paste everything that you did in Absol Task 1 and put it into this. But the process is the same in picking that collaborative team. A lot of what you're going to get out of the Absol is the data, the school data that you pulled in, the student achievement data. What you're going to get out of the Absol is the teacher empowerment data and those things and the checklist. And so as far as the Absol goes, the data is the key there that you want to pull in. But as you form this collaborative team, to look at all this, you use the same process that you used in the Absol. You'll go ahead and do, you've done this for all the different evidences. Go ahead and do your background info or the demographics of your setting. Then you talk about the team that you pulled together. And so within that, and it may be a conversation with the principal, but in that, you're going to list those people who's the team members and kind of their strengths. And so that process is kind of what you pull in from there.
So I guess just to clarify, because I totally missed that in the town hall meeting, I guess, is that the SIAP we're supposed to have a separate team, kind of like we did for the skip?
It doesn't have to be a separate team. It can be the same group of people that you work with all along. And if you can pull that off and do that here at the last few days of school, then that would actually be better for you. And I'd recommend that because this group's going to already be familiar with this data. Does not have to be a new team.
Okay.
So if it's the same people, then, well, going back to kind of what you said, if it's the same people, then the reason you picked them for the Absol and some of the other professional learning communities that you established during the program, I guess it would be the same that you would pick them from the SIAP. So, yeah, I guess it could be a copy and paste. Nobody's ever really asked that question, but it's a great question. But, when I'm thinking through it, yeah, I guess it could be. I just don't want to – in the town hall meeting, Dr. Lamb's like, well, just copy and paste. And you know how Dr. Lamb is. He's, let's get it done and knock it out. But
it still has to make sense.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly right. It has to make sense, and it kind of has to flow and transition from one to the other. So it's a great conversation. Thank you for bringing that out, Liam. Any other questions?
So I guess just in my thought, could you go over just kind of what you want to see in task 1, just kind of get us going? Because I looked over it today and I had a little bit of a hard time kind of thinking about how I'm going to start that, just because I know we've been, we said the copy and paste 2-3 times now, but like how to start it for just this particular document. I just wanted to know how should we start that, or what we should be looking for.
Okay, Jacob, and to do that, I'm going to move over here to the school improvement plan because I you guys know me well enough. We've been together a long time. My go-to is the rubric. So we're going to pull up the rubric here for task 1. So in task 1 is you're going to have you're going to pull in all the data that you've accumulated. So in task 1, of course, you want to start out just like always, and I don't mean this insult anybody's intelligence, but, do your title page. If you want to write an abstract, write an abstract. You want to go ahead and do your school demographics. Really, you've done it several different times for different evidences, but pull in all that information, the total school. You may just have concentrated on student demographics for the Absol and the APTL. It might have been, teacher credentials and things like that. And the OMA, it was how the school was organized. but also keep in mind that this is internal and external, so that background info, that demographics of the school within the community and the community is what you want to start off with. And then when you go from there, you want to start talking about the different data, the data that you pulled in from the APSL, the APTL, the OMA. As it says here, you're looking for any data. You want to rely heavily on the teacher working condition survey. And I might jump back to the template here in just a minute. Also, make sure used to get EVOS. A lot of principals felt like that was, for their eyes only. I think the mindset on that has changed a tremendous amount. I think that teachers are more involved in analyzing EVOS data now than ever before, but there may still be some areas it doesn't surprise me because it happens about every course of the program, every 5 years maybe. Somebody will tell me that they don't have access. The principal won't let them have access to the EVOS data. That may not happen here, but if you have access to that, you want to use that. You want to, once again, as we just talked about, is you want to talk about the collaborative team. So you may want to start out with the data, all the data that you pulled in, kind of showing that in figures, tables, and graphs. Talk about the formalization of this collaborative team that you're going to form to look at this. And then your team analyzes the whole pot. What are the gaps over all this data that we've accumulated? What are the gaps? Now, have you looked at this data before? Yeah. A lot of it you probably have. School achievement data, cultural data, teacher working condition survey. Has your team already identified the gaps based on what that data is? Yeah, they have. So you already kind of have that information. It shouldn't be hard for your team to pick out. The thing that you may want to do is pick out what are the most pressing needs of the school when you look at it in the whole picture. You may want to talk about what subgroup stands out among the most in that area. Now, I want to go back to the template here because if I remember right, there's a thing that would help. And I may have been dreaming. Maybe. Okay, and task 2, it talks about the teacher working condition survey. I guess maybe this is what I was thinking about here is just utilizing that EVOS data. That's basically task 1. You look at that and talk about the most pressing needs. Does that kind of help you, Jacob, or did I just throw a big rock in a small muddy puddle?
No, I think it did. I think I can speak for my whole Zoom team here since we're all here. I think we have a group text where when we're writing all this stuff, we always kind of go back and forth. We don't want to keep repeating ourselves over and over and over again. And I think that's probably our biggest issue is that we just don't want to feel repetitive all the time. And I kind of feel like with this, it's going to feel real repetitive. I guess that's where my confusion is.
It is, and it's expected. That's okay. I mean, it's okay if it does seem repetitive because it is repetitive. Think of it as pulling all these different programs in 601 through 604, all that information that you accumulated, all that analysis that you accumulated. You're going to pull that together and you use that information again to just kind of pull it into one huge school improvement plan. It's designed to be that way. It truly is. I know we talked about a comprehensive needs assessment in APSL, but what you've been doing from 601 to 604 is a total school-wide, internal and external stakeholder comprehensive needs assessment. Now what you're doing is you're taking all that information, looking to giving it a fresh look and saying, okay, what are our most pressing needs? You want to rely heavily on the EVOS. You want to rely heavily on the teacher working condition survey. But it is okay if it's repetitive. It's designed to be that way.
Okay, I have a quick question, which may be dumb. For EVOS data, I'm thinking of that from like a teacher perspective. Like really, usually the only time we look at EVOS is to go in and verify rosters, like I did, a week ago or whatever, because exams are about to start.
Right.
But like I dragged out a notebook and I'm looking at like the North Carolina school report cards, and it has, is that the EVOS data, basically the stuff that's on there where it gives the school profile with all the demographics and our different levels and all of that kind of stuff? I mean, that's what we're looking for, right?
It does, and like I said, it really depends on what your school does, and it's okay. You have to work within the confines of your environment, but you should be able to go on there and do look at your students and how have they performed based on the state. So you should be able to look on there, and it's not not how you perform, but you can look at the school profile, the class profile, the group profile. I used to be the testing director in another county years ago, and I remember EVOS first coming online, and I did several trainings, but in my role right now, I hardly ever touch it. Just whatever EVOS information you got that would be beneficial to show where your school is at, then utilize that. And if it's just from what you got on the NC school report card, then that's fine. If that's what you got to work with, then work with that. Yeah, sure. And it doesn't have to be EVOS. It says here in the rubric, which I just think it's beneficial. And I don't know if some of you may be in South Carolina, and you may not use EVOS like North Carolina does. So it doesn't have to be EVOS. It does say other data analysis tool that measures academic progress. I just think EVOS is it can be very valuable to a teacher, even though I don't use it, but I feel like it's really good information to give you opportunity to work with that a little bit more when you look at the total school, not just your classroom.
Okay. I just figured I'd go ahead and ask you before I go into my principal tomorrow and don't know what I'm talking about. That's a great point. Is go and meet with your principal and kind of as you had in the past, say this is kind of what I'm looking at, and say, what do you look at when you look at school-wide data? A lot of that stuff is already prepared for them by the testing accountability director. They may even at this point in time have some type of Google Doc or spreadsheet or CSV file that has that information so that they can share with you. I'm going to check the chat box, see if there's any questions there. Okay. All right. Any other questions? And so this group here, this is you guys are all on the same pretty much peer group, I guess.
All of us except Justin.
Okay, well, good deal, good deal. That's great. I appreciate you guys coming on board and asking those questions. And like I said, I'm not going to bother you this semester. And if you need me, you reach me. But I'm not going to, I say I'm not going to bother you, but we get down to the last 3 weeks, I'm going to be checking to see if things are getting, clicked off the list and everything. Now, I tell you what I would like to do, unless anybody has any more questions at the moment, we can always come back and do questions more. But let's go into TaskStream for just a moment, because I feel like I need to just kind of to give some reminders here on TaskStream. No, I did not mean to do that. There we go. All right, so let's look at 605. And do not forget, and Dr. Lamb mentioned this, is your competency folio. As far as your competency folio, every competency within your folio should have 3 artifacts, 3 separate artifacts from 3 different type of evidence. So, you know, during the course of your guys' program from 601 to 605, the emphasis on that has changed. You know, it doesn't have to be any narrative. You just have to put your artifacts. So as you meet with this collaborative team and you start having some of these few conversations, you're going to want to, you know, there be an agenda, so on and so forth that you can put here to go along with these competencies. Just make sure that at the end of the day, there does not have to be anything in digital learning competencies. You're doing that by default by some of the other artifacts that you're showing that Dr. Lamb embedded those within the digital learning competencies are embedded within these. So you do not have to do anything there. This is old school. The orientation form is old. Like I said, this is my 2016 version. You do not have to upload your internship hours here. If you want me to look at them one last time, send them to me in an email. So just make sure before you know, go ahead and do the PSYOP now, knock it out, and then as we have with some of this other stuff, you know, you can work on this last few weeks of the semester. As far as your DRF, in 605, you're going to have to do the School of Ed disposition. This is your final one. You have to do the competency analysis. That's your final one. You have to do your final competency folio. Now, Dr. Lamb mentioned this during the town hall meeting, as once you have finished and requested comments on your competency folio, this up here, I'll look it over. I'll let you know if there's any problems. If I tell you that the evidence or the artifact that's presented is evident of the competency or is you know, is a good descriptor, then once I finish doing those comments, then you can look at that video that Dr. Lamb's got in the course shell, I think, that tells you how to take that competency folio and connect it to this final competency folio. Once you're done, once you get all 3 artifacts for each evidence listed, request comments from me, I sign off on it. Then in the I think it's in the course shell in the videos, Dr. Lamb mentioned it. There's a video there that shows you how to take that competency folio here and bring it into here. Also, now you finally get to upload your internship log after you get the 80 hours for this semester. If you, like he said, I say last night because I think that's when I watched it. But as Dr. Lamb said, if you knock them all out within the first 2 weeks, then great. You can go ahead and do that. So that's what you kind of got going on to finish up here. So any questions at that point in time?
I do, about the competencies that we're doing. So we're supposed to have 3 artifacts for each one, right? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
Okay. And these are the 21 things that we've been working on?
Yes, the 21 competencies.
Is there, and maybe it's in that video that you were talking about, is there something that like organizes all of that? I mean, because the only way that I've been keeping up with how many I have of each one is I have like a little tally sheet that I've been keeping from semester to semester where I go through and put little hatch marks.
Right. You know, there is a document that kind of correlates. I think I've shared that with you. I believe even I'm going to go back to my old dinosaur competency.
It says which, you know, the APSL should have these and the APTL should have these and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm concerned about is like, so the competency folio, is this last one that we're doing, it's going to have like we're supposed to go back and grab everything is going into this final one?
No, it's just a process. You look at the video, it's just you don't have to recreate anything. It's
Okay.
just taking this information and feeding it into that platform.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you know, if I go at communications and I pull up communications, and I should see 3 artifacts there. too. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't have to be, and I've talked to you about this, it doesn't have to be from the APSL. If it's a good demonstration of leadership competency, and then I don't worry so much about it being from the APSL or whatever evidence is indicated. Those are just guidelines. But there should be 2 from your evidences that you've done and 1 open-ended. And as long as I can go through each of those competencies and see 3 of them, 2 of them from the evidence and 1 open-ended, then I'm going to sign off on it. And that I'm the person that signs off on that. And so then you just go and it's not published. It's somewhere. Well, maybe it is. You hit publish. You request comments from me, and then after I sign off on that, I think you go into the publish tab, but you don't. It might be create a URL and a password, and then go into your final competency and the DRF and upload that. That might be what it is. But once again, watch that video. Watch that video because I don't. You know, once I request, once I sign off on it after it's been requested comments, then it goes kind of out of my user capability, so I can't go in and see what it looks like past that point.
Okay.
If you have any problems with that, now you guys, if you watch that video and it doesn't make any sense, you have any problems with that, let me know because we'll find out.
Okay. So when you said from the evidences and then open-ended, when you say from the evidences, you mean like the APSL, the APTL, the OMI, those are the evidences, and then the open-ended is just like anything we've done, just at
Right.
school, not related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I say evidences, that's all of the main, not the task, but all of the main projects that you did for that semester. And then open-ended is like you said, there's a list of them in the, you know, we give you examples within the syllabus and the handbook of what those could be.
I have a question. So when you're talking about open-ended, I know for mine, generally I do whatever I did in the task, and then I have an open-ended part. So do we put both of that or no? Do you put all your open-endeds in as one or?
No, for each leadership competency,
Mm-hmm.
for all of these here, like communication, you should have 1 artifact from some type of evidence, another artifact for some type of evidence, and then your 3rd artifact can be some type of open-ended evidence or open-ended artifact. So no, there has to be a total of 3 for each of these leadership competencies. And of those 3, 2 need to come from your evidences, whether it's the ABSL, the OMA, the APTL, the CAP, the SKIP, the SIP, or the SIAP. 2 of those need to come from your work that you did on the evidence of Gardner-Webb. A 3rd one can be anything that shows leadership. Could be presentation to a parent group. Could be going to a board meeting and doing a presentation. It could be creating a newsletter or a flyer about a specific event. So it's things that wouldn't necessarily be done and specifically related to any of the evidences that you've done for Gardner-Webb, but it still shows leadership within these competencies nonetheless.
And I just pulled up, I think this is the paper you were talking about.
Yes, go ahead. It tells, let me pull up here. Your syllabi should have it. I think a lot of the course instructors put those on there. And I may be going in the wrong direction here.
I don't remember where it was. I think I found it in a couple of different places. So like Justin, if that paper that I just showed, if you want that, I can like just take a picture of it and email it to
Oh,
you.
great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Save a little bit of time from hunting it down. But you're, like I said, you're a course instructor. Information should have it in the syllabus. And I know it's in the scale book somewhere. It's just a matter of tracking it down. And it may actually be from each of, and see, and I'm like this. Once I, it's hard for me to let something go once I try to find something. I can't find it. But anyway, I'm gonna do that for the sake of time. So, there any other questions? I see you laughing at me, but are there any other questions that I can help you guys with? And now I'm going to be up late looking for that. So that's good. That's good for me. Maybe I can remember. I wish I could remember all the things.
I'll email the picture to you too.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you. I might get to bed early tonight. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions that we can help you guys with?
I have a question about the internship log.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe I've done it wrong, but basically I write down what I did, how long I did it, and it equals up to 80. Now, of course, just recently I went back and was like, ooh, this says competency. Ooh, this says proof. Like, are we supposed to have, so we need to have for each activity, which competency that is, or
yeah, you can in general, yeah, and then the proof, the proof can be like you don't have to paste an artifact in there. You just say competency could be communication, or okay, you could have did a presentation to the parent group. You say the competency is communication, plus the proof is the PowerPoint presentation, but you don't have to load or insert the PowerPoint presentation. You can just say, I've got a presentation on hand. So you just tell basically just in terms what that evidence would be.
okay.
If you attended a board meeting, or if you did bus duty, then could be conflict resolution or something like that, and then the proof would be the duty roster or something that the principal may have. So, yeah, the main thing is listing the activity and listing the hours and getting those descriptive. Any other questions? All right, our next Zoom session that I've got scheduled is July the 8th, and that's like the 8th week out of the 10 weeks. That's the 8th week. So I'll come back on here. It's 8 p.m. on the Monday, and we'll do another question and answer just to kind of wrap it up. But as I said, you contact me. The only time I'm really going to be out of, even though I put July the 4th break, I'm still going to be around that week. So if you need to schedule a Zoom session that week, except for that Wednesday, me and my wife are going to go up to Washington, D.C. and go see the Stones, so I won't be available then. But that Monday, I can Zoom. The Thursday evening, the Friday evening after that, I can Zoom. The only week that I will not be available at all will be next week, the week of June the 3rd. I won't be available any of that week. But as you go through this and have more questions, email me, phone call, or we'll Zoom, whatever's good for you guys. Get this done, knock it out, get your diploma and your licensure, and then you guys can just go off and enjoy the wonderful world of being school administrator. If you're not already an administrator, some of you may already have gotten an AP job or may get an AP job this fall. And if I can help you with any of that, please let me know too. Any pointers or preparations that you might need to do for the interview, I'll be happy to help. So we're about 36 minutes into this. I'm going to sign off unless I see anything in the chat or anybody comes and unmutes and asks a question. And I will post this recording because it did have some guys asked some really good questions that could help some of the others. All right, well, I'll be thinking about you, and as we get closer to that 8th week, I'll check and see what you've done and what you got knocked off in task stream, just to make sure you're in good shape. And graduation's not that far away, so you guys take care. And as always, I hope you and your family stay safe and healthy. And God bless you all. And contact me if you need me. Have a great night.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.